Oh, okay. This afternoon, I would like to discuss the effects that technology has had on communication. Today, thanks to mediated communication like Facebook and texting, we have the ability to build and maintain relationships, and we've never been more connected as a society as we are today. But as you hopefully just experienced, devices like these, whose intent is to help maintain relationships, actually isolate us from them. Through much personal experience and research inspired by my passion for meaningful relationship, I've discovered that mediated communication, when abused, is actually having an adverse effect on our ability to relate to others, ourselves, and to nature. Thus, I am here today in hopes that you will see that although we benefit from mediated communication, boundary lines must be drawn in order to prevent a further rift in the relationships that we seek to build. Let's first look at how our relationship with the world around us is affected. When so much of our time is spent plugged in, we never get out. As a people, we're created to enjoy nature, but mediated communication is breaking this relationship. Richard Louv, in his book, The Last Child in the Woods, explains to us something he calls nature deficit disorder, and he makes connections between the lack of nature in our lives and problems like obesity, attention disorders, and even depression. Also, where much time used to be spent outside, the reverse is now apparent. In a recent study by the Kaiser Family Foundation, kids ages 8 to 18 are reported to be spending about 6.5 hours a day on more than one electronic media device at the same time. This lack of time spent outside is a major concern of Bible professor Marion Bontrager here at Hesston, and I've heard of him mentioning many times about how when he comes to visit campus on the weekends, things are much different today as they used to be. He wonders if people even attend this college because when he walks through the campus, it seems to be deserted. But we know where we are, students, in our rooms, in our beds, on our computers, playing video games with the blinds shut. Another relationship broken by mediated communication is our relationship with ourselves. When so much time is spent in communication with others, we never actually truly connect with ourselves. The reason why maintaining this relationship is so important is because life is not satisfying and meaningful if we don't. In a recent conversation I had with Molly Simmering, a campus counselor, we discussed the importance of solitude. In my almost 3 months here at Hesston now, I often feel overwhelmed by all the things that I'm experiencing, learning, and sometimes struggling through. I need to take time to identify how I'm changing, but I can't do this when I don't take time to process. And when I don't process my experiences, they have no meaning. The constant distractions of Facebook and cell phones keep us from taking that time. This knowledge of self is so important because without knowing who we are, we can't accurately relate to others, which is the next relationship affected by mediated communication. When so much time is spent communicating through media, we lose the ability to communicate personally. In today's increasingly digital world, mediated communication has become the main medium of communicating for many people. I experience this on a daily basis when I'm in my dorm room on my computer having about 5 Facebook conversations with people on this campus, and then when I go down to the Lark's Nest, there's no one to be found. In this chart put out by Facebook itself, you can see the increase in usage from February of 2008 to February of 2009 in various different areas of how people are becoming more involved with this form of mediated communication. And this ability to stay connected is efficient and helpful. It cannot replace actual face-to-face communication. Our reliance on texting to communicate has become so bad that we can walk past the person we're texting on the sidewalk and not even see them. Also, the number of texting conversations in proportion to the number of actual face-to-face conversations is greatly imbalanced. The reason why, in a study at Indiana University, it was found that college-age students send an average of about 300 text messages a day and report texting up to 15 different people in the same day, while their face-to-face conversations are limited to roughly 5. In further research of these statistics, I found many magazine website polls, online forums, and blogs that question their readers of their participation in this phenomenon. Many of the people responded and said that they did, in fact, text this frequently, but were not satisfied with their conversations. Why is this? One reason is that the basis of mediated conversation is language or words, but actual conversation consists of the nonverbal as well as the verbal. Dr. Barbour, author of Louder Than Words, breaks this down for us in his book. 7% of our conversation is verbal or held in our words, but 38% is vocal in our intonation, our volume, and the rhythm of our voice. And 55% is found in our body movement, our facial expressions, and our eye contact. This leads to broken relationships because 93% of our conversations are left to be assumed by the recipient. Adam Voiland, in an article in the U.S. News and World Report, tells us that face-to-face conversation is more valued because the person is physically present, assuring their undivided attention, trustworthiness, and sincerity. And here there's a chart showing the different levels of intimacy of conversation that we have today, going from talking at number 10 down to the least personal, which is Twitter. And I appreciate from 8 to 1 how there's a line in the middle representing the divide that happens when you aren't having that face-to-face communication. Mediated communication has interfered with this face-to-face communication as well, though. It's impossible to be present in reality if we're constantly absorbed in the digital world. The strongest evidence of this testimony is, or this example is, of course, my personal testimony. A couple of weeks ago, I was having a bad day and walked into my mod, and one of the girls' doors was open, and she invited me in to talk because she saw that I was down, and I was truly taken by her willingness to listen to me. But unfortunately, a few sentences into my discussion about my day, you can predict she received a text message on her phone and stopped my discussion, texted the person back, and smiled, apologized, and asked me to continue. So I did, but a few seconds later, she received a reply to her text message, and this happened about 7 other times over the course of the next couple minutes of our conversation. Some people see this ability to have more than one conversation at once as a positive plus in our society, but I personally felt hurt, invaluable, unimportant, and like I was being a burden to her. So I quickly wrapped up my conversation and left. I'm sure we've all had experiences similar to this at one point. So now that you've hopefully seen how our addiction to mediated communication negatively affects our relationships with others, ourselves, and the world around us, I would like to propose a remedy to this problem. If we would simply refrain from texting and Facebooking at every free moment, we'd be able to relate to others, ourselves, and nature more freely. So I challenge you to leave your phone on the charger when you go to classes or to meal times, and to sign off of Facebook when someone knocks on your door wanting to talk. And instead of replying to that, "Hey, what's up" text message from the friend down the hall, to actually go pay them a visit. And maybe we could take it one step further, to even take time out of our day to go outside and enjoy nature, or simply enjoy being with just ourselves. If we did these simple things, we could truly achieve the meaningful relationships that we deeply desire. Thank you.